Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. For the past couple days, we talked a little bit about the blue-tongued skink, we talked a little bit about the bearded dragon, and so now I figured it's time to make a video pinning them head to head, trying to figure out which one makes the better reptile. Of course, the topics we'll be judging today are going to be the big four. That's going to be number 1, personality, number 2, the cost of ownership, number 3, how difficult the care is, and finally, number 4, the overall recommended experience level I'd recommend for that animal. And with this, we'll be doing a score of 1 to 10, trying to figure out which one really does make the better pet. Did you hear that? Only 4 categories, not 5, and it's a rating of 1 out of 10, not 1 out of 5, not 1 out of 5 stars. It's which reptile is right for you, not what is the best reptile. No, I read your comments. I read them. I'm not copying Clint. I might be copying Clint a little bit. Anyway, all right, now it's time to sit back, relax, dive into a head-to-head competition, and roll the intro. Then kicking off the first round in this competition, we're going to be starting with number 1, the personality of the animals. Of course, we're going to be starting with the blue-tongued skink, because obviously I wouldn't take a blue-tongued skink and talk about bearded dragons. That would just be silly. I'd be crazy to do that. Yeah, you know what, maybe I should have done that. That would have been funny. Damn, missed opportunity. When it comes to the personality of the blue-tongued skink, I kind of see it going either way. As you can hear, I don't know if the mic picks up because it's a pretty good mic, so it kind of empties out all the filtered noises, but he's hissing a little bit right now. He's a little grumpy, he's a little twitchy. He's not having too good of a time. Now, of course, this is an imported Indonesian skink, so obviously getting taken from the wild to them being in the pet trade, they're not going to be as... not going to be as nice and friendly as your, regular import or your regular captive bred specimen, things like that. So, all in all, from my personal experience with this animal, I see him being a not very personable pet, and I guess friendly would be the best word. He's usually a bit grumpy with me, a bit hissy. He's not too bad. Like, he doesn't like lunge out and bite at me. He's just kind of running around and making that hissing noise. Judging the blue-tongued skink on the personality, it's gonna be a little difficult just because my own experience has really just been with this imported one. So honestly, you guys wonder why I do most of my... You guys wonder why I do most of my videos in my reptile building? This is why. This is why I do most of my videos in my reptile. I can hear him laughing over there now. He finds this humorous. He finds it humorous for me not to get my work done. That is ownership of the blue and gold macaw. Don't worry, we'll be making a whole video on if the blue and gold macaw is the best pet for you. Well, we'll be doing it, and a little spoiler, it's gonna be a no. Alright, when it comes to the personality of the blue-tongued skink, I'm gonna be giving them a 7 out of 10, which it's not a bad score, you know. It could be better, and I'm sure some of you guys out there with captive bred skinks have a much better experience with me. However, with a big majority of keepers getting them at pet shops and them being imported, not having the best experience, I think we're gonna leave it at a 7 out of 10, which of course is usually a satisfactory score if I remember high school, which has been a little bit. 70 is satisfactory, right? I think so. What do you think, bud? And he's kind of pissed about that. And now, comparatively speaking, getting into the personality of the bearded dragon, honestly, I don't think it gets any more laid back and chilled than the bearded dragon. I think they are probably one of the most laid back reptiles out there. I think they make just great family pets just for the fact that they kind of just do this, which is just... They chill on you. This is pretty much it. The couch potatoes is what people call them. Really, I don't think it gets any easier than the bearded dragon as far as, you know, just personality and laid back with. For those reasons, I don't know, should I give him a 10 out of 10? I think I'm gonna give the bearded dragon a 9 out of 10 for personality. I don't think I'm gonna give a 10 out of 10 because I don't think there will ever be a 10 out of 10. I am a very harsh judge here. I am that guy, it's been too long, the judge on American Idol, so we're gonna be judging pretty harshly. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. I can't do a British accent, I'm not gonna try to do a British accent. It looks like the beardy won that round for pretty obvious reasons. However, don't worry, he's not, the blue tongue skink's not down and out yet. We got plenty of more stuff to talk about, which really leads us to round 2, the cost of ownership of the animal. When it comes to the cost of ownership of the blue tongue skink, I find it to be in the average category when it comes to expenses. Of course, the skink is gonna cost a pretty good amount, usually a couple of $100s. You can usually find them maybe for $100 if you look at the right places. Of course, you are gonna get one of these grumpy imports versus a proper captive bred animal. So that fact, I would recommend spending a little bit more getting a captive bred baby versus an import. However, you know, it is there for the cost efficiency. Then of course, we're gonna need an enclosure. Right now, you can actually see mine. You don't need this much height on that on the enclosure. It's just one I had lying around, so I figured I'd give it to him. We actually might be switching it later on once he gets a little bigger. Right now he's not a full adult, as you can see. He still has a little bit more of a ways to go, so a 36 by 18 is okay for now. However, here pretty soon I will be getting an animal plastics 4 foot by 2 foot by usually 12, 18 inches the recommended, so it's really the final enclosure you're going to be wanting for an adult blue tongue skink. You're gonna need those basking bulbs. UVB optional, however, I always recommend it. I do have it. It's I don't have enough 6-ways in here, so I gotta finagle something, but there's UVB on there. It's just not on right now until I figure out how to finagle a way to utilize electricity, because we're pretty full over here in the reptile room, I'll be honest. And lastly, the diet. Now, there's a pretty large financial, I guess, variety when it comes, or diversity when it comes to the diet of the blue tongue. I know a lot of, especially like the blue tongue breeders, they like to make their homemade blue tongue mixes of food, and so it's a variety of different things mashed up into I don't know, meatballs or something like that. So it really depends. In the blue tongue's favor, however, I know feeding is a little less than what you would do with a bearded dragon. I've seen some people even going as far to say they only feed their adults only once or twice a week. Of course, these blue tongue skink mixed food, so it's a little hard to pin exactly how much food would cost you, but I'm definitely gonna put it on the lower end versus what the bearded dragon would be. So if you have an average cost of about, let's say $250 for the skink, an enclosure for, if you say you go the AP cages or Zen Habitat's cages, you can find yours right down there in the description. It's a good price, so that would be $300. So that brings us to $500. The bulbs, everything else, probably maybe another $100. So now we're looking about $600, maybe $700 with the diet, depending. And now back to the bearded dragon, we're going to be going over the cost of ownership. Now, when it comes to the cost of ownership for the bearded dragon, it does get a little pricey. Not too pricey, I think I'd still put him in that average category. Of course, with bearded dragons, with how oversaturated the market is, you can find them pretty cheap to pretty expensive. I think the lowest I found a bearded dragon was about $60, and then the most is, of course, if we're talking about genetics, they get kind of expensive, but somewhere around $60 to $300 is what you can expect to pay for a bearded dragon. Now, when it comes to the bearded dragon's enclosure, however, we are going to get a little bit bigger. We're talking about a 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot as a minimum setup for an adult. Of course, there's a variety of different ways you can go through this, building your own, maybe buying from some aftermarket guy, I don't know, maybe Zen Habitats? Yes, Zen Habitat! They make a gorgeous 4x2 enclosure, which honestly I think is the perfect bearded dragon setup. If you want to learn some more information about that Zen Habitat, it's right down there in the info, but yeah, I always gotta say that I'm authorized. I gotta say that every time, you know, it's just, I'm sorry. Of course, we have the number of basking bulbs you're going to need, with bearded dragons needing a bit of a higher basking spot than the blue tongue skink. You're gonna need either a higher wattage. You're either gonna need either a larger wattage basking light or either 2 smaller wattage basking bulbs in order to achieve the proper temperature that you're going to need for the bearded dragon. Now, when it comes to the diet, this is where they really are a bit different. Someone mentioned this in my earlier video that I said, you know, with the bearded dragon specifically. I didn't mention the diet. Now, with baby bearded dragons, they need a lot of bugs, like a crazy amount of bugs. It's ridiculous how many bugs baby bearded dragons need, and it can be a little overwhelming for a first-time keeper. As far as they go, like, the price gets pretty up there as far as getting crickets and dubia roaches, whatever you use. Of course, you can start your own breeding projects. However, you're gonna need a pretty good colony startup in order to feed a bearded dragon from baby to adult. Not only that, they are gonna be needing a variety of fresh veggies and fruits that you're gonna be needing. All in all, it does get a little bit pricey for sure. And it is for this reason, I gotta give the bearded dragon, like, oh, I don't know. I think I'm gonna do like a 7 out of 10 for the bearded dragon. 7 out of 10 for the bearded dragon for cost of ownership. Let's get into the other stuff. Well, it looks like we are neck and neck now. 1 point for the blue tongue, 1 point for the bearded dragon. This could be anyone's competition right now. However, we still got 2 more categories to go. This could be anyone's win, potentially. Anyway, round 3, of course, that is going to be the overall care of the animal and the difficulty of it. Let's talk about it. When it comes to the overall care of the blue-tongued skink, I don't really find it to be really that much difficult. Of course, you're gonna need that basking spot, UVB. I'm just gonna talk over him. And this might not be a good video, and I'm gonna do the rest of my videos in the reptile building like I have been, but I wanted to show animals, and so maybe I'll just move them to my reptile building because that would be less of a pain than this. Now, I don't think the care for the blue-tongued skink is that difficult. Of course, like I said, the basking, the UVB. The one thing that the blue-tongued skink has over the bearded dragon is, of course, the humidity levels. You're gonna want it pretty humid depending on the locality you have of the blue-tongued skink. So pretty much what that would be is a large substrate and then misting in order to get the proper humidity levels. I won't really say what that is just because I don't know what locality you're working with, and I don't want to give wrong information. Of course, with blue-tongued skinks not being very arboreal due to, well, you know, can't do much climbing with these. I mean, what even is that? Pretty much with the blue-tongued skink, they're gonna be very terrestrial. They do like burrowing, so of course that deep substrate's not only gonna help with the humidity, but help with that mental enrichment for the blue tongue burrowing down. All in all, I don't think the blue-tongued skink is very difficult to work with. I think they make a fantastic beginner pet. The 2 big things, of course, you're gonna want to get a handle on is humidity, and then, of course, understanding the diet of the blue-tongued skink, because there is a lot to know about the diet with them being pretty omnivores and with needing just a variety of different things. So getting into the overall care of the bearded dragon, I kind of actually went over it really in the cost of ownership. I just kind of said everything you're gonna need, which is a little bit of my bad. I do apologize. I'll go over a brief summary. Of course, basking lights, UVB, nice substrate for them to burrow and dig in, of course, for brumation, things like this. Now, the thing with bearded dragons, they are also what I would describe as semi-arboreal. They do actually enjoy some climbing spaces. It's for that reason that I do believe they should have at least a 2-foot high enclosure. I definitely want to see maybe even like a 2 to 3 foot would be awesome, getting different ledges, shelving systems, seeing like how much they'll actually go. You can find in the wild that after a quick bask, you'll find these guys really on top of like rocks, in these little like bush trees in the wild, fence posts, things like that. These guys actually do enjoy climbing. Now, with all the difficult things you need to utilize with bearded dragons, of course, the UVB, the lights, substrates, the diet, you know, all those bugs, making sure you have the variety of the diet with the fruits and greens, understanding that ratio, and then decreasing the proteins you're giving and increasing the greens. I'm gonna have to give them a little bit more of a difficult care on that. So as far as ease of care, which I didn't really explain in the first one, I think we're gonna do a, let's do a 7 out of 10 again. 7 out of 10 for this guy. And it looks like the blue tongue is taking the lead on this competition, boys and girls. However, it's not over yet. The bearded dragon can make a comeback, you know, because we still have one last round. Who will be the winner? This little sausage patty or a potato? It is anyone's game still. That brings us to round 4. Recommended experience for the animal. Let's get into it. I stated this earlier, but I will kind of have to go over it again because this is round number 4. I really believe that the blue-tongued skink can make a great pet for really any experience level. I think they make great beginner pets. Even with someone like, you know, if you're someone like me that owns 100+ animals, they still make a great animal. I love my blue-tongued skink. I've had a blast working with him. Even through the grumpiness and huffiness, he's still one of my favorite animals here. Of course, I do believe most of my animals are my favorite animals here, but, you know, whatever. whatever. I don't think they're too difficult to care for. They're a pretty hardy animal. They're not sensitive in that context. Really, again, the two biggest things that I would think that people would need to know about them is, of course, getting that humidity right, and then, of course, just understanding the diet of the blue-tongued skink. There's a lot to go over with the blue tongue, so that's definitely something to take into account. I would think of the blue-tongued skink as like the poor man's tegu, because they do get fairly large. Here's a picture of like a full adult blue-tongued skink. They're a little bigger than what I have, but he's like almost an adult. They're personable. I think they're pretty intelligent, comparatively speaking, and all in all, I just think they make a fantastic pet no matter the experience level. And then getting down into it, the last round. Can the bearded dragon pick up and be the crowned winner? I have no idea. We'll have to find that out right here when we talk about the recommended experience level. Now, if you... I caught him, don't worry, I caught him, boys and girls. If you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you'll know that I kind of put the bearded dragon not as in, like, I really don't recommend them as beginner pets or first-time keeper pets. There's a lot that goes into the bearded dragon and understanding it. They need a fairly large setup, comparatively speaking to some other stuff, such as like crested geckos and things like that. I'm not gonna let you fall again. There's a lot of things to know about the bearded dragon. It's for that reason I really think of them more, I guess not so much as an intermediate pet, but I guess an in-between as a beginner and intermediate. I don't know what you would call that. However, I'm like terrified he's gonna fall again. All in all, I think I'm gonna give the bearded dragon as far as a 6 out of 10 for the experience. 6 out of 10, because they are a little bit more on the difficult and as far as like starter reptiles go, which is really how we're starting this out. We're gonna get into the other stuff later on. I know you're thinking, wow, Dakota, you're just doing a bunch of beginner stuff. Don't worry, we'll talk about monitor lizards and stuff later on. I got all December to do this, and we're gonna get into every single one of them. All right, let's do the final score. Who won this bad boy? Now, the deciding factor. Who won with the most points? Is it going to be the blue-tongued skink, the grumpy flapjacks, and or the bearded dragon toad? Let's do a round of applause, a drum roll, please. Wait, don't go, don't leave. It's your ceremony, where are you going? It's the blue-tongued skink! Oh my god, who would have guessed this? Yep, all in all, I do think a blue-tongued skink makes a better pet than a bearded dragon for the reasons that we just stated in this competition. But now it's your turn. Leave me a comment in the comment section. What do you think? Do you think the blue-tongued skink really is the true winner and the king of this competition? Or was I wrong? Was I way off and you guys are thinking, nah, Dakota, bearded dragon makes a way better pet than a blue-tongued skink? Leave me a comment down there. Let me know what you guys think. Let's get into the other stuff. Guys, I know you probably heard me say it at least once or twice in this video, but we gotta say it one more time. As always, huge shout out to Zen Habitats. If you're unfamiliar with Zen Habitats, they are an aftermarket reptile enclosure maker. They make some great designs like this one right here. This is a great enclosure for any reptile that we talked about, the blue-tongued skink or the bearded dragon. Either one would make a great enclosure. You can find that over there in the description over at Zen Habitats. Let's get into the other stuff. And other than that, if you like the video, please feel free to give us a thumbs up. If you want to see some more of my animals or my breeding products, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, DBCB Exotics. We're also on TikTok, like some cool merch designs like these 3 right here. Those are pretty rad. You can find those at Teespring. We also have Patreon, patreon.com/DBCBExotics. You get the up-to-date info on the plethora of multiple projects I have going on. I got a lot of stuff, including crocodile skinks, tokay geckos, monitor lizards, ball pythons. We have a bunch of stuff going on. You don't want to miss it. Are you guys tired of this? Is this pet reptile right for you? Or the head-to-head competitions? We're going to be doing them all month long. But I'm posting all my regular stuff and my breeding stuff on Patreon. You get the full videos before I actually release them in January, which is pretty cool. You can sign up as little as $1 a month. It's a really rad thing. It doesn't cost that much. I'm going to get going now, guys. We'll see ya. Roll the outro. Let's roll it.